So going back to your first seminary experience, now you didn't have to worry about celibacy, because I know that's something that a lot of Catholic
marriage
priests
is allowed. Yeah,
yes, the Catholic
it's also
priests,
allowed in the Eastern Orthodox Church too. Yeah.
So a lot of the Catholic priests here that we've had on the show, they said that was one of the things that they had to get over the most.
Oh yeah.
So since you had that put aside for since you were in the Anglican Church or the Episcopalian Church, what difficulties did you encounter during your formation?
Yeah, I think the difficulties reside around twin vocations. That's the way I would explain it.
Okay.
The vocation to marriage and the vocation to priesthood. All right? That's hard. And it really is.
I can imagine.
I'm not saying, feel sorry for us. But I wouldn't do it any other way.
Uh-huh.
For me, anyway.
Okay.
And again, marriage is not our issue in the ordinary. We're not trying to come to the Catholic Church and say all these priests ought to get married. No. That couldn't be further from the truth, but marriage is a vocation, and it is a one of the very purpose of marriage is for the salvation of two souls by literally giving themselves away to each other. The two become one.
Yes.
You can no longer do your own thing, so to speak. And you begin to learn how to surrender yourself. So marriage and family,
yes,
the domestic church, is part of that surrendering of our will and becoming more, if you will, in tune with God's will. That's what any vocation does. We're not allowed to do what we would like to do all the time. If we did that, we're not going to go to heaven. If I'm allowed to do whatever I want to do, regardless, I'm not going to go to heaven. I mean, it's about it. That's how vocations work. Priesthood is very similar. The monastic vocations work the same way, you see. And so the difficulty begins with trying to maintain a healthy relationship, marriage with spouse, and raising children, et cetera, and also functioning as the pastor of a parish, for example, priest in a parish.
Yes.
It's doable because I did it for 32 years, and I've done it since then, 10 years as a Catholic priest.
Yes.
It's doable, you see. But that's a difficult proposition and can be, all right? Celibacy is a real gift that the church has. And I'm not saying that married priests are better than or celibate priests are better than. No, it's just different.
Yes.
And they're vocations. And God is seeing to it that souls are being given the opportunity to surrender themselves to God's will. And that's how we become holy. Of course, there's a lot more to it, of course. We can get into that. But that the difficulty began in seminary. It was going through seminary as a married seminarian.
Yes.
I had a wife.
Yes.
I had good friends who had children there. We didn't have any children. Remember, my oldest wasn't born until
your graduation.
And that was a godsend to have to wait till then. But some of my friends had several children.
Wow. So did they lived with
the married student housing? We had all kids all over the place. Yeah.
And then do the wives have to undergo classes as well?
No, they were always invited to audit if they wished. They could come in and sit.
Okay.
And a lot of them worked for the seminary. My wife worked for the dean of the seminary that I went to. She was helped with the fundraising activities of the seminary, and worked in the seminary office itself. And because we didn't have any children at the time, we were able to that was a lot easier for us.
Yes.
But they also had daycare programs and all the rest for the kids.
Okay, that's good. So we all know, any married person knows that the first few years, it can get a little rough in the marriage. And you were going through seminary at that time. Was there a point when you said, "Oh, maybe I should just concentrate on did you ever think of leaving the seminary at any point just to concentrate on your married life?
I never went through any kind of a crisis like that. I knew some young men that did, some friends that did, and survived it. And I had some friends that didn't, But Marilyn and I were, if I could say this, and I say this in all humility, we were kind of naturals to the program, you might say.
Okay.
We both loved being there.
Okay.
I enjoyed every minute I was in seminary. It was hard. There were hard times, but the reward of the community,
yes,
and the way we took care of each other. There were 110 students in the seminary I went to. The year I graduated, we had 110 students. The community was solid as a rock. It was a worshiping, praying, caring community. And my wife was a natural in that. She became in fact, our senior year, she was the president of what's called the Women of Nashotah House. And it was the wives group. She was the president of that group. And they did all kinds of things in terms of providing social activities for us.
Oh, yeah.
It was lots of fun. And the single guys, I mean, we kind of adopted some of them, Several of them used to eat with us almost every night. They'd leave the refectory and come over to the married student housing and be part of life there too.
What was the rule with the single guys? Were they allowed to date while they were in the seminary? Were they not? Okay.
They could. Yeah, they could. But once the seminary formation began, if you're single, then to move into marriage, you needed the proper permission.
Yes. Of
the authorities within the seminary and the diocese that they come from.
Okay.
Now, and remember, in the Eastern Orthodox Church, one can marry, a priest can marry, or a seminarian can marry, but once they're ordained, priests can't marry. I'm sorry, I misspoke. Once they're ordained, that's it. You're celibate.
Okay, you're locked in.
That's right.
Whatever you are, there you're locked in.
And then no priest who's married can become a bishop.
Okay.
Of course, that's true with the ordinariate. I mean, none of us will ever become bishops.
Okay.
That's not going to happen. And our first ordinary, Monsignor Jeffrey Steenson, was a married priest. And the first ordinary of the chair of St. Peter, being married, he couldn't be a bishop, but he was made a Monsignor, and he was the ordinary of this ordinariate here, the diocese here, until Bishop Stephen Lopes, who's now the Bishop Lopes is a celibate priest. So he has been ordained a Catholic bishop. He's our bishop, and his office and chancery are here in Houston, right beside Our Lady of Walsingham.
Okay.
And I used to work there because I was the vicar general for the ordinariate before I stepped down. I was the vicar general for Monsignor Steenson. He and I worked together in the early days of it's when we had nothing.
Okay.
We literally started the ordinariate with nothing. I officed out of my car, in fact.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was, we didn't have a whole lot to work with.
Wow.
But it's come a long way since then.